go again. I'm just starting over again. It's alright. That's alright. There's a saying that you do what the Romans do, you know. Do what the Romans do. Society, politics, and economics. First of all, you deal with society, you deal with that which is social. Planet Earth is a sociological structure where there's inclusions and exclusions. It's not good for a sheep to interact with a wolf. Yes. There was an African teacher teaching that social conflict produces an illness, and that is dealing with something that brings about a misfortune. So it is the social conflict that one has that brings forth for illness as a result of something that occurred that is misfortunate. Let's look at the word illness, if we may, how it is defined. Yes, illness. It is associated with a anxiety disorder. An anxiety disorder. So it's something that is it's out of order, which means if someone cause any hurt, harm, or danger to you, it is due to a anxiety disorder because of the you do not supposed to socialize, engage, or interact with that particular individual or a particular group of people. So they will do things to show that you are not accepted nor valued in this particular social gathering or social interaction or social structure that you should be have something of your own when it comes to interacting with people of your own kind, your own somewhat thinking, attitude and behavior, So there are certain factors of the sectors of the society who still have not been equipped and prepared to deal with this intermixing in this and associating with other group of people who are not a part of their, their social status, of their class, So they will let you know how they feel about that. That is to be expected. Oh, that is to be expected. And means a manner and way where it becomes justified, to act in a way that that cause hurt, harm, and injury to a individual who crossed the line. It's for sheep, venture into an area where wolves are. By nature, the wolf is going to devour that sheep. Politics, as Steve Coakley says, the lowest accommodation of science. Science is nothing is created of itself nor for itself. It's always, evolving. Living organism always evolving. I think John Jackson wrote in his book Man, God, and Civilization what makes a civilized society is a literate society, and it consists of scholars and scientists. John Jackson said that. But politics, Tories and Whigs, host thieves and bandits, created institutionalization, or the institution created to justify, banditry and thievery, and economics, and we look at these words, polo or politrix, democracy, republic, clan, a clan. Yes. Echo, resounding. Economy is no more ethics, which is systemized knowledge, Yes. This book about the Romans, society, politics, and economics, a certain excerpt of it. It states with the conclusion of the struggle of the orders of gradations of Roman society became more and more strongly marked. Let's look at this term, if we may. Let's just pace ourselves a little bit. This gradation, a scale or a series of successive changes, stages, or degrees. A scale became more and more strongly marked. And we, in the thinking we use in this society, the term millennium, that's same thing, that thinking. Yes. In the book, they call it a good book, Miss the Mark. The mark is a lack of accountability. Yes. But marked. Yes. Yes, it's like, is there such thing as law, or is it called expediency? You make up rules along the way. Do what the Romans do, they say. Mm-hmm. According to property qualifications, see, properties. Just thinking, just think about this thinking. You know, you can tell the psychology of one mentality by what he or she produces. You know, just thinking. Property qualifications. You know that as a human being considered as a property, so you depersonalize his or her humanity as well as you depersonalize your own humanity. There's this scale, this measurement, and this sexes, races, classes, even fascists, whatever it is, society. Do what the Romans do, okay? According to property qualifications. Yes, and the depersonalization process. I think even remind me of Daniel Shays' rebellion in Boston. You know, he said, man, he ain't gonna be treated any kind of way, and he fought to help bring forth the freedoms of in this country. You know, maybe there's two classes of people: a debitor class and a creditor class. You know, qualifications. We'll get into that maybe later on, as we have seen in combining military with social and political duties. You know. Remember, you know, slavery was a thing of status control here in this country, and then when you elevate your status, you know, by being a part of in the military, you know, and even if you look now, the same thing, you raise up in the ranks, you know, as they call it, you get in amongst your ranks, but the ranks is the manner and way in the duty in which you do for the betterment of humanity. You know, that ranks high. Yes. For example, if one set people down in divisions and he fed them, you know, that's doing his duty for humanity. Yes. For the betterment of the people. I think someone says about government here in this country in the United States. I think it was Robert Kennedy talked about the power of government. The problem is misuse of it. You know, instead of making money off the people, make money for the people. You know. Yes. And we see what happened to Robert in that healthy thinking there. And but your duty, political duties, military with social and political, you know, they were marked out, you know. But what remained decisive about this system, that it originated in the single Roman classis. It was associated with the phalanx. Let's look at this word here. All right. And see what it's associated with, you know. All right. Phalanx is pronounced phalanx. Military, police, history, and biology. You know, it's also closely associated with the phallic, you know, the obsolete. That which is to be worshipped, you know, and because of one is able to interact with women, you know, and release that which is sperm mixed with ovum, you know. Yes. Remember this, the class is marked out, you know, property qualification, what qualifies you, you know. In this country, they say that you have to be a responsible human being to be in power, you know, to be in, you know, among the ranks, associated with the ranks of the elite or the ruling class, you know. And it's marked out in the intellectual class, and even how you know, are educated. You know, some people And in some countries, you know, you may have to go 40 years and to know something. And some, I think, one of the class of people said, "Well, damn, if it take 40 years, I'd be dead." You know, so they shorten that when it comes to coming to be a proficient at or somewhat of an expert in your field of study. This word again, you know, that we talked about is
phalanx.
Phalanx. The Roman, with in association with the phalanx, the Roman citizen army. Roman citizen army. Yes. Yes. It grew, you know, as at one time the wealthy had.
It's a matter of perspective.
Yes, it is. It's a matter of perspective. Yes, it's a matter of perspective. So yes, you know that in the colonist days, I believe it was, and the police was the you know, the citizens. You know, they want to protect their property, their wealth. You know, and it wasn't the case in the early 1900s in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You know, when local government took advantage of the wealthy blacks in that area. But yeah, it grew out that it is out of a unit which became more and more subdivided, not out of an original cleavage of society itself, not out of an antagonism of different classes. Of course, there were political and social polarizations, like the oppositions we have discussed between patricians, plebeians, and patron, client. Optimate, the word optimate, to optimize that which produces a sense of, in the manner and way in which you mate, you know. Yes, member of a class, you know. But it was the political and social union of all free citizens. Now, it's a key word, free citizens. Now, you know, the word police come from a Greek term associated with police and policy, was that only the wealthy and rich could vote. So, you know, it says the social, here we go. But it was the political and social union of all free citizens that mattered, you know. You see? Free citizens, you know, deals with freedom, you know. Free or don't. We're free from being, you know, dumb, you know. Not the antagonism of different classes as defined today. The Roman concept of class is based upon the inclusiveness and domination of a unified, if differentiated, primary structure, whereas the fundamental antagonism between different classes is implicit in modern definition of class. The only thing that is different, as Chinka Diop would say, is climatic, which means we're in the manner and the way where you was raised and how you raised, but he said environment. You know, that's what's different, you know. This book goes on to continue to make a clear distinction between there and now, supposedly. It's cool. This fundamental idea of a system of social grades. Remember, you go to school to get a grade. You know, you're being marked. You're being, and it's a thing of establishing data and determining if you're going to be a liability to the society or an asset to the society. You know, yes, countries do that. Countries do that. So it's a grade, a social grades, as well as social status is how they grade you. You You agree that based upon how much money you access you have, your wealth, your education, your family background, determines both the political order inside of the Roman state and the constitutional relationships. Constitute, that means what constitutes your value. Constitutional relationships of political power. I believe one president says he's not under no moral illusion about this country. Yes, I know who it is. I just don't get into really saying names and all that stuff. But he's considered to be September 7th. You figure that one out. You'll know who that is if you remember September 7th. Yes. Within the whole area of his rule, it was not till late antiquity, by contrast, that the leveling ideas, here we go, of race. Now we see something there. The leveling ideas of race, leveling ideas of race, religion, or social class came to popular or polarize Roman society. So, do what the Romans do. Says then it came to polarize Roman society. Ideas of race and religion, not social, not the social class, or this the classes of this particular system when it comes to that which is popular. Yes, and that which have influence to populate the society by its ideas. So to polarize, and I hope that one not to use things in a way that that offends people, Yeah. When you use the word polarize, to restrict, the vibrations, something that becomes very popular, to polarize, and something that can be associated with something that could be very cold, As you said, that your vibe becomes your, becomes your tribe. So it is with this this level of frequency, then, level of frequency. It's either low or it is high, and we look at it, the climate in any society when it is influenced by the psychology of a mentality, and when it's aimed, and its aim is to hold on to its ideology, and to hold on to its way of life and position of what is called power, prestige, and prominence in this social class, and prevent and it's difficult for them to become accustomed to anyone who even if he or she has played a major part in putting them in the position in which they are in, but yet becomes ungrateful for that. is very challenging indeed, and then to act out and show your gratitude from a historical perspective to brutalize an individual is very ungrateful, it's an ungrateful person, and a very ignorant person. So the society, through government or what have you, and educational system and family, may have not done a good job of educating any individual who will act out in a very brutal and will brutalize an individual whose ancestors helped them to benefit from the labor in which they have helped played a major part in of this in a country that is financially successful. But yet, I think Marcus Garvey said that maybe some people maybe are infuriated. These people may be infuriated that you do not that you continue to want to either associate and be a part and even interact, and unable to go and do things on your something with your own people, and but yet want to come and create and be a part, or create some disturbance and be a part of the group who don't want to be a part of you, nor accept you. Could be very challenging, very very challenging. But and it needs to say that, but they will show that they don't care and that they are unappreciated. So it has something to do with ignorance. Yes, it has something to do with ignorance. And ignorance is a result of hostility, as if there's nothing else to be learned. Those things that you think you know, you realize you don't know. Then you realize that there's more to be learned. So that what brings forth this ignorance is arrogance. Yes, it's arrogance. Yes, very arrogance. Yes. So, but yeah. So it was down to late antiquity, by contrast, the leveling of race, ideas of race, in religion or social class came to polarize the Roman society. So, what is it that comes to polarize a racist and a classist society, a sexist society? Some things are very similar, indeed, when it comes to the, at least in the United States of America, yes. Okay, then it goes on to say, then such abstracts or streams as Roman and barbarian, Chinga Diop would talk about that, barbarianism, Christian and pagan. I mean, who's determined the words? Who created with the word pagan anyway, Got to take a look in the mirror yourself, and those who that would simply dominate the whole picture, even though antagonists themselves had been planted earlier for the Republic and the Principate to, on the contrary, within the determining units of the Republica. What mattered was pluralism. The legal grades or gradations when it comes to cultural and economic and political units, working together, but even though each unit seems to operate differently, but there are checks and balance, because even in a racist society, the primary thing that keeps them together is their ideology, is one's ideology, and they're associated with their color of skin, as well. Yes. And of course their class, but their ideology. Yes. So the battlegrounds is ideological and the war is psychological. Yes, there was a president that went over to Poland and he talked about that which unites them is their ideology, is their ideology. So it is characteristic that when the Roman participate when it comes to when it was at its peak in the 2nd century, it was not general abstractions. When people think of what's called religious sense, think of God, they think of something concrete, but God is abstract. Once you think you found God, you have not found God. Yes, because it's he or she, whatever you want to call them, cannot be confined. And because we offer concrete solutions to abstract problems, and abstractions are accepted. So there was this society, Romans. They were still learning. Still learning. Okay, which figured out the official, with the coins of the empire, the most important vehicles for portraying the state's own conception of itself. How do you portray the own conception of yourself? We look at in this country greenbacks and we see the faces that are on them. And then we look at the image of what people call God and so forth and so on. So it's like, people are, they see themselves as image. It's an image, it's an image. He or she who controls the image, they can project what they want to project about you because they control it. Control the projection, I should say. Can project what they want to project about you. Now we got to deal with media, press, and television and the negative images that are being displayed. When it comes to people of a darker hue, you see, and then for the most part, many people who are in the media, press, and television, and celebrated, they portray these some demeaning, degrading images as well, and then there are some mixed things that are hidden in there, hidden satires, and that's just a strategy, you do what the Romans do. So the most important vehicles for portraying the state's conception of itself. Everything that is done is to portray one's own image of him or herself. Now the challenge in that is that we tend to want to give the image of how we want to be seen, and how other people who are in control of the image, how they want us to be seen. But yet, we overlook who and what we really are. That's the challenge. And once a person finds out that he or she may not like it, and just like they may not like their lot or position in life, and they become very aggressive. That leads to violence, because I always say social stress leads to mental pain. Mental pain leads to physical harm. There's 3 to 4 illnesses. I know 3 for sure. Mental suicide, emotional homicide, and spiritual genocide. So we deal with a hate psychosis. We're dealing with a hate psychosis as well in the society in which we live, and as associated with social comparisons, Yes. Says, what strikes us is the very multiplicity of images representing what deities. Is the deification, anything that people do, mainly Europe, they deify themselves. And the powerful beings of virtues and values of armies and providence and branches of the empire, it is the the multiplicity, of it, multiply. That is to be productive, because the certain how you represent yourself, it is very productive. It must be productive in the larger society. Mainstream is that the mainstream who in the background, it is very productive, because you in the manner way in which you are representing, it's a benefit to those who own the media, the press and television, and it serves as a reminder that he or she who controls the projection can project anything that they want to project about you. And it also is a reminder once you destroy the image of a people, they will communicate that destruction. Yes. So one of the solutions is that you have to control the image of yourself. And once you control the image, you control the communication system. Yes, and it deals with your virtues and your values, And when it comes to evangelizing or spreading hegemony, or I'm talking about one's culture hegemony, meaning this is the humanity that I'm going to give to the world, and the material that has been given to build on one's humanity, its character, and it's very challenging indeed in a society. So do not be surprised, and when you deal with a tyrant doing what the Romans do. You can't do what they do anyway, But in the manner and way in which people behave toward another group of people, because the Kwame Ture says that the duty of the conscious is to make the unconscious aware of their unconscious behavior. And may we continue not to, by organizing instead of being spontaneous. When people brutalize you, or another group whom they don't want to, who have depersonalized them and dehumanized, had been dehumanized, who represents the collective psychology of a mentality. And the challenge is not to be a part of wrongdoers. Maybe there's more wrongdoers than lies, or wrongdoers of dishonesty, and they lie about things, and they become notorious, or they become famous. And we use these terms, notorious, and become famous people. We become famous, people of renown. So when it says that when you have faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Mountains means removing people of renown. Yes, that's what it means, mountains. Because they are men of renown. They are known not only for their wrongdoing, but they are known of being notorious or famous people. They go around lying and deceiving. They have no boundaries. And be careful that we don't indulge, do our best to show restraint. As the brother would say in the book Mental Alchemy, strengthen our restraint. That they have no boundaries, And in their wrongdoing and their lives, because they have become men of renown. And when and those who have no boundaries, they mislead, by way of their behavior. And when they lead by their way of behavior, they become untrustworthy. untrustworthy people, by way of their fraudulent behavior. And this is this is the ranks in which people who come a part of mainstream society is. They become wrongdoers or dishonest gain, dishonesty, I should say, dishonest, if I want to call it. They lie and they become notorious men of renown, having no boundaries in their lives and behave untrustworthy, very fraudulent in their behavior. And we got to be careful in the best way not to indulge in that. Yes. And want to be amongst their ranks. So I like how it says that that which is asked for is lead one on the path, the upright path, or into the straight path, In closing, I'm reminded of going out, trying to be debriefed under this influence, of the larger society. When I went right and I should have went left. Because it's easy in this society to seek recognition, to find a place of belonging, the value, to be amongst the rights, to become wrongdoers, liars and notorious, and become people of renown for wrongdoing and lies and having no boundaries, of being untrustworthy and fraudulent behavior, And I just really pray that that I'm keep good companionship with people and myself and my Lord, if I may use that term, and forgive me, that doing my best to trying to get back to the essence of my nature, salvaging my soul, and in my thinking, and my attitude and my behavior, and even in the language in which I communicate. The crooked place is straight, deal with perversion, the language of perversion. Yes, crooked language. Native Americans made it clear, beware forked tongue. Because turn your back on a snake, more than likely he'll bite you. So as I say this in closing, may we continue to be granted success for our labor, joy for our sorrows. Until next time, talk to you.